Hey guys, I wanted to take a closer look at the AR47, but I guess to talk about this, we have to talk about this first. This is a Savage Axis in 223. I bought this rifle with the sole intention of converting it to 545 by 39, and I did. The conversion wasn't anything I'd be able to squeeze a video out of, so it really isn't worth talking that much about. Basically, all I had to do was turn a new barrel for it. I have a bit of a problem with buying stupid shit I have no need for, and a couple years ago I ended up with a stripped AR upper. I don't remember who made it or what it costs, but just go back in time about 5 years and find the cheapest one possible, because that was probably it. But anywho, I ended up with a chambered 223 barrel that I had no use for. It sat for several months on the floor of my gunroom until I saw this picture. This is a Chinese Norinco 5.56 AK front end that a Vietnamese gunsmith mounted to an AR upper. It's in 22 long rifle. I thought, wow, that's cool. That guy made something really interesting. I wonder if I could do that. So this project has two iterations. This is phase one. Don't be too impressed. The lower you see there didn't actually work. The 5/32 pinholes were drilled wrong, so nothing worked. I had to borrow a lower to test this. You'll see that this is a reoccurring theme with this build. I had taken the Savage barrel and cut it for AK barrel components and then threaded the end for a AR barrel extension. It had no gas system. I hadn't drilled a gas port or anything. I guess this is more of a proof of concept, but this was version 1. I was brand new to machining when this was made. I don't know by how much, but it had very excessive headspace. It swallowed a no-go gauge when I got around to testing it. Probably would have been a better idea to gauge it before shooting it, but I never let good ideas get in the way of progress. Honestly, it probably wasn't even safe to shoot. I'd post this picture any chance I got, just to cause confusion. The project was put on hold for a while, though. Eventually I got my own lathe and decided to attempt this project a second time. My machining skills had improved greatly by then, and I bought a 5.56 chamber reamer. It was from Brownells. I think it was like $85, but don't quote me on that. A barrel blank from somewhere, cheapest I could find I'm sure, between centers, was about the time I'd come up with this. This picture was featured in Brandon Herrera's Cursed Gun Image video. Honestly, I can't fault Herrera for his suspicions that this wasn't a real gun. Yeah, this was the second AR lower I had ruined on the mill. I had drilled the selector hole far too forward. You couldn't even install the trigger because of how bad it was. In a blind fucking rage, I took a 9/16 drill bit to every single hole on that lower, even the fucking takedown pins. I had considered using an acetylene torch to melt the lower to punish it for not bending to my will, but eventually just decided to toss it under the bench and forget about it. I still have it to this day. The upper pictured here, you may notice it has a different front sight than the last one. I bought a Mac 90 front sight from Apex. Interesting thing about Mac 90s, the gas block and front sight block both have the same size barrel journal. You can't take a Mac 90 front sight and put it on a normal AKM barrel. Another interesting thing is the tolerances held between former COMBLOC countries. I am almost positive the barrel components here are Hungarian. The front sight block, gas block, lower handguard retainer, all from an AK-63D. I bought 2 kits from Apex Memorial Day 2014 for $399. I remember because that was the same day my baby mama got her first tattoo. Fucking slag. But anyway, one kit got a folding bayonet from an SKS, and the other got scrapped and ended up here. This one didn't work either. I went to torque the extension to 90 pounds and just ended up shearing the shoulder I had turned off the barrel. So once again, I find the cheapest barrel blank possible and start over. 2 previous times under my belt, I ended up with this. It even had a gas system this time. You might notice the dire condition of my workbench and work floor. Yeah, it's always a mess, but it isn't usually that dirty. I'd spilled an ashtray, and the trash can I used for my gunroom is being used elsewhere in the house. And you know what? This kind of depravity always gets people talking. If you're looking to spark a conversation on the internet, post something like this. It's like those worst bedrooms of 4chan videos you see every now and then. It's disgusting. But anyway, back to the gun. We'll start from the front and work our way back. That's a surplus AK muzzle brake. No idea where it came from. Turned the barrel to close enough, ran a 14-in-1, 14x1, I don't know what to call it, 14mm left-hand AK muzzle brake threading die. Yeah, it was easy. Next is a normal AK front sight block. Yeah, it was also easy. This was actually a really easy thing to do once you have any idea what the fuck you're doing. But you might notice that each of them only have one pin in it. It's because I'm lazy. Here's where shit gets janky, though. You see that brake line peeking out here? Here's the underside of the gas tube for the AR47. I said before, I don't have my own mill. I did all of this with a 3/16 chainsaw tooth file. I wish I knew who made this file, because honestly, it is the best file I've ever had. It was given to me. I've used it for almost every project I've undertaken in the last 7 years. If I were to do this again, I would just cut all the way across the tube. It would save from having to bend the gas tube so dramatically. When I had originally put the rear sight block on, I had to file a substantial amount of material from the underside to allow the spiky thing that holds the extension to the upper to thread on. And with that, I indexed the gas block off of it. I took an 1/8" drill bit, spun it against the barrel, leaving a mark, then pressed the gas block back off. Then I used that mark as a locator and drilled a 3/32 hole into the barrel. I do know that AR gas port holes are supposed to be certain sizes. I don't know what those sizes should be, nor do I care. 3/32 works good enough. The brake line, specially bent, was stolen, borrowed from my brother. It was just standard automotive brake line. I took the end and jammed it as far as it would go into the gas key, the AR bolt, gave myself some extra length, and then proceeded to press the gas block on. Turned an aluminum tube, internal hole the size of the brake line, external diameter the size of the gas block hole. Initially, it was undergassed. It would eject a spent cartridge, but wouldn't cycle a new round. I shortened the tube, and it ended up working just fine. I guess the brake line was bottoming out in the gas block and choking itself. Nonetheless, it works great now. You again might notice that the furniture changed between versions. Version 1 and 2 had blonde AK-63D furniture, where version 3 has reddish Romanian furniture. I do like blondes, that's for sure. But I can't say being blonde is a deal breaker. This Romanian furniture right here had green eyes and was an absolute sweetie. How could I say no? As of right now, the lower handguard doesn't have anything permanent holding it in place. It's just crowded up against the spiky thing held in place by the lower handguard retainer. It wiggles a bit, but it isn't going anywhere. I tried to Dremel the slots for the handguard retainer in, but fortunately ran out of cutting discs, so just gave up and gave it a couple days and used someone's mill to do it. Alright, all the details are out of the way. I've had people ask, how accurate is it? Fuck if I know. I blew 90 rounds into the woods just to make sure it worked, haven't shot it since. I'd imagine putting it on paper. Even then, only the Battle Zero the AK sights would be on. The sights are graduated for 7.62 by 39. Windage would probably be good, but other than your initial zero, it would always be hitting either higher or lower depending on where you have your sights set because of the increments on the AK rear sight base. Another thing you might be wondering is, what's with the Punisher logo on that AR lower right there? The person I borrowed this from, he's a good dude. He really is. I asked to borrow his lower, and he said yes. No questions asked. I can't really give him any shit for something like that whenever he's just so willing to let me borrow his stuff, no questions asked. Another thing I'd like to address is all the people saying I just took an AK front end and jammed it into an AR upper. You know that isn't how it works, right? An AK barrel and an AR barrel are two very different things, right? These don't just interchange, right? Fucking idiots. Another thing, my dudes, I have seen on K, anytime Herrera is mentioned, this gun gets brought up, as if to prove he was wrong about something. On more than one occasion, I have seen seething retards accusing people who aren't me of shilling my channel because I'm an attention whore and as bad as Herrera himself. Now, personally, I think a lot of this is that I had the gall to insult the father figure of a bunch of tourist Redditors. Let me just say 100% conclusively, I do not hate Brandon Herrera. I am not harboring a grudge against him. I am not actively trying to debunk all of his videos. Hell, I've only ever even seen 3 of them. His AK-50 short stroking, the gun meme video that had my gun in it, and his video about him having a rice coup. That's it. I don't like Reddit garbage. And I only watch it when I'm blackout drunk. Guys, if it's relevant, I'll give you a link to one of my videos. But I'm not about to be spamming my shit all over 4chan just to get views. If it's something you'd watch, go right ahead. I'm glad I could help. If not, that's cool too. This is also somewhat related to the monetization cuckery. I have a job. I make 4chan green text and gun videos for fun. If I ever start shilling for Raid Shadow fucking Legends or any other stupid bullshit, abandon my channel. Here's where shit gets janky, though. You... fucking cunt.